Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel, Reading with the Crew.
Thank you so much there, Jack61. Thank you so much for that warm welcome, and a big welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us on the panel. We've got a really big panel today, which is incredible considering the subject matter that we're doing. But it's always great to be part of this team and to contribute. And as Jack61 said, we're going to be continuing our series that both Neverly and myself have put together, entitled Reading with the Crew. And we're actually on part 21, believe it or not, and that's incredible. So what Neverly and I have been doing is we've been presenting, and also the Foul Play team are discussing selected chapters from the book, John Ferak's book, The Wrecking Crew. And today we're going to be continuing the chapter that we did last week. It seems like 100 years has gone by since last year. Not that there's any other interesting cases out there at the moment, right, guys? We're not discussing anything. And so today, if you've been following our recent readings, we're going to be continuing chapter 24, which is entitled Creepy Kratz. And even though, all jokes aside, even though the subject matter is actually quite disturbing, it is very important that we do it. Because remember, guys, ultimately, we're all here for the same purpose, the same reason. And that is we're doing it for the memory of Teresa Halbach, who is the victim in this case. We mustn't lose sight of why we're doing this, right? It is for Teresa Halbach and her memory, and to obtain justice, because we believe in the innocence of Stephen and Brendan Dassey, who are now spending their entire life, or will spend their entire life, locked up behind bars. But as I've always said, guys, one thing that impresses me about the Foul Play team is that we're all different. We're very, very passionate. We're different. And we're not scared to take on the big questions, the big challenges. And I believe we go where the evidence takes us. I know a lot of people sort of say that. We go where the evidence takes us, but we really do deep dive here. And that's the impressive thing. We don't just sit on our laurels. We haven't just watched MAM 1 and MAM 2 and all of a sudden we're trying to become experts in this case. We have a huge body of work, and that's impressive. And Neverly and I and everybody else from the Foul Play team want to say a big thank you, guys, to you, our supporters, our subscribers. And it's fantastic that our numbers are starting to go up. We're a relatively small channel. I understand that. But I believe that with the supporters that we have, they're very passionate and they're very loyal, and they come week after week, no matter what the topic, whether we're talking about the MVAC system, and that's gone really, really well for the Foul Play team. We're almost at 1,000 views, which is awesome. And we can discuss Mr. Kratz and his personality issues. So we do tackle the big topics. And again, to be part of this team is an honor. It's fantastic. And again, guys, all of us from the Foul Play team would like to thank you guys in chat, right? Our subscribers. So if you enjoy what we do, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you enjoy our work, and share and spread our videos. Let somebody else know. And it's great because we look in chat and we see new faces, new people coming along. And I think that's fantastic. You know, it really, really is. It's important that we share what we find with others. And, you know, we give shout outs to people who support us. And we're all really on the same team, working for justice and also for Teresa, and that she gets justice in this shocking case. Again, guys, we like to thank all our super mods and everyone that works in the background, right? We're here, we're part of the panel, but there are many people behind the scenes who do a lot of hard work, tireless, thankless work. And you could tell because we have a very, very big YouTube channel, Discord channel, and website. And that's fantastic. So if you want to know anything about this case, people like Jack 61, Sunshine Christina, and others work very, very hard to obtain documents and FOIAs. And Susan, in particular, has also worked very hard with Zoe in the merchandise store. And I've got my Foul Play t-shirt, coffee mug, etc., etc. So any income we derive, we give it either to a suitable charity or we use that money judiciously to buy documents. Thank you so much for that. Again, guys, before we start the podcast proper, because we have a lot to cover today, it's important to realize, please, yes, this is a very heated case. It is very passionate. We're talking about a very delicate subject here. So please be aware that there's the potential for harsh language, right? Because of the nature of the case and what we're discussing. So there'll be a warning put up regarding potential harsh language. And also, because of the matter that we're covering, it's a big trigger warning. And I know for myself personally, last week and some other members of the panel, we just had to stop. It was so bad. We just couldn't continue. But we'll try our very best to finish the podcast today so we can do something else. Again, guys, Jack 61 will put those warnings up. And the other thing, of course, is that sometimes we do attract family members involved that were there at the time when all this went down. Please show respect, okay? Don't bombard them with questions. Make them welcome. It's a tough, difficult case, right, Jack 61? It's not easy,
Absolutely.
right? You think about yourself in that situation. It's not easy. And sometimes we're blessed with Barb coming into our chat. And remember, put yourself in her shoes, right? She has a son, a young son, 16, who was placed in prison for life, and also her brother as well, Stephen, put in prison for life, both charged with horrendous crimes. So please show some respect to each other in chat. And we love your questions, right? We really do. We love your questions and we truly appreciate them. So guys, so that we don't waste any time, I'd like to introduce our esteemed panel, and also a big shout out to the super mods as well, who look at the chat, keep everything rocking and rolling. Thank you so much, guys. So I'd like to introduce our esteemed panel for today. We have Jack 61. Welcome, Jack 61.
Hey,
How are things coming along?
Good. Thanks, Doc. And hello to the panel and all the live chatters for coming along and, going through this process with talking about Mr. Kratz and his actions. I do want to give a huge thanks to, Doc talked about people working in the background, but I want to give a huge thanks to our readers that we rely on week after week. Neverly's doing the bulk of the reading in this particular project. And then, on the open mic, we have Susan and Rhonda, Cherie, and Sapper Cop has came along and read some things. These people do a wonderful job. And if you think that's easy, it's not.
It's not.
It's really not.
It's not. It's not. It's tough going. It's tough
going. It is. So a big thank you. I try to thank everybody. I know you do as well, Doc, and everyone, but it's a special thing because all I got to do is to ask, boom, and I get volunteers to help out. And that I think that interactive part of what we do is really important. I think it makes it more interesting, having the different voices. Anyway, just wanted to say a quick hello and thank everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jack 61. And don't forget, the Foul Play team read the entire trial, the Brendan Dassey and Stephen Avery trials, and that was a monumental effort by a lot of people. And I don't know how Susan hasn't lost her sanity reading Mr. Kratz out, but we'll get to Susan in a second. Thank you so much, Jack 61. And next we have Neverly. How's it going?
Hello, Dr. Silkman. Hi, everybody on the panel and in the chat. Doing really well. Looking forward to this podcast. Yes, Dr. Silkman, last podcast last Saturday was really triggering. And we need to take some break. So luckily, we're back here, and I can't wait to go forward. And under your scar said maybe we should put a notice like warning, trigger warning, and whatnot. And yes, under your scars, Jack is diligent about that. He'll be putting a notice that it's a triggering, and that it's really some serious, like, damaging stuff we're going to be talking about, like explicit languages and whatever. Just horrible.
It is. Yeah, 100% correct. So please, guys, be warned. There are a lot of triggers, and there still will be a lot of triggers. But I believe that we should cover this. It's painful. It is a sensitive area, but I believe that we should cover it. We shouldn't sweep it under the carpet.
No.
Because Mr. Kratz did have a major effect, right, guys? He had a major effect and a major impact at both the Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey trials. And he was always pointing an accusatory finger at both Stephen and Brendan Dassey. And he certainly didn't like people pointing a finger towards him, right? So, pot, kettle, black. Anything else, Neville? And are the rumors true that you may be addicted to other cases which are going on at the moment?
Who? Me?
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding.
We believe you. We believe you, Neville.
Yeah. Now, I just wanted to say something, but I forgot. Yeah, in regards to Mr. Kratz and why are we doing this? This is not really to shame Kratz. This is more to understand where he's coming from and why he did what he did. And that's coming also when you analyze any behavior, you got to go into the mental health and mental issues and psychology of how somebody wired. And this is why we're doing it. This is really not for shaming him. He does that actually himself very well. We're just here to understand more of what happened.
That's a very good point, guys. And also people in chat, remember, Mr. Kratz himself wrote about it in his own book. Okay, and this is public knowledge. We're not trying to do an expose on Mr. Kratz.
No.
These are his own words, which he wrote about in his book. Again, thank you so much, Neville. Much appreciated. Next, we have Alice. Alice, how's it coming along? Let's see if we can get Alice to come on. Alice, how are you coming along?
Yeah, I'm good, Doc, thanks. It's cold, wet and windy here in Scotland, so just trying to keep warm, sitting with hot chocolate and things like that. So hi to everyone on panel, hi to everyone in chat, and I'm certainly not looking forward to what we've got left. I mean, last week was bad enough, and like you, Doc, I had to stop. I couldn't take any more. He is the most vilest. I don't even want to call him a human being because he's not a human being. He is vile, he is evil, he's disgusting, and he's a lot of sweary words that I can think of, but I'll try not. So I'm not looking forward to the rest of this, to be honest.
I understand. Again, thank you, Alice. Thank you very much for your honesty and your passion. Next we have, I don't recall. How are you coming along? I don't recall.
I'm doing pretty well. Happy to be here and happy to see everybody. And let's enjoy reading with the crew.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't recall. And next we have Susan. Susan, thank you for joining us. How are you coming along?
Oh, I'm doing okay, Doc. You mentioned the trial ratings, and it brought back a few nightmares.
Yeah.
But ever since my Father McShame gave me that exorcism, I'm doing all right.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Susan.
A little lobotomy on the side.
Correct. A little bit of electroshock therapy always helps. Thank you so much, Susan. And next we have Just Rhonda. Just Rhonda, welcome.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, everybody on panel and everyone in the chat. It's great to see everybody here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Just Rhonda. And I'm Yep. Thank you, Just Rhonda. Any other comments? Sorry, Just Rhonda, for cutting you off short.
Oh no, you're fine. Well, I guess we leap from those involved in or interested in Daniel's case. We've kind of started leaping from the horror from Kratz um and his antics to jumping into some details and information and some videos and transcripts and stuff for Daniel's trial as well. And I've had some help from foul play readers helping me read uh, transcripts over in Daniel's case for my podcast. And it was a couple of weeks ago. It was really, really, really rough in different ways, just with the
Yes.
language that we had to use that was actually in the transcript. And I have to admit there was a huge lack of immaturity because otherwise it was really difficult to get through
It
some
was
of those
bad.
transcripts.
It was
It
bad.
was so bad. And so Alice, of course, did a wonderful job and reading for one of the attorneys, one of the prosecutors, and I had Susan and Jack, and we were all reading this past week. And Susan now has another persona that she's working on for Daniel's case. So
Yes,
when you get a chance, check out some of our videos over on my channel as well.
I will.
How do I always get the worst characters?
I wonder why.
You do the best job.
Could it be?
Hey,
Could it be
Michelle
your
C is saying Daniel who?
Oh,
Correct.
Daniel Holtclaw. Hi, Michelle C. I cover
Correct.
Daniel Holtclaw's case on my channel. So
Correct.
yeah, if you don't know anything about it, you'll have to check it out. It's Catnip
Please
just
do.
linked my channel. So anyway,
Fantastic.
Supermod.
Yes. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Just Rhonda. Absolutely. And then I think this really shows the strength of the Foul Play team. We've got members here who've got their own YouTube channels and who devote a lot of their time looking at other cases as well, other wrongful cases of innocence where people have been put in prison we believe in their innocence. And it takes a lot of work, passion and dedication to work on those cases. Please check out Alice's channel. Please check out Just Rhonda. If you haven't, check them out, subscribe, show your support. Okay, guys, we can almost start the podcast proper. My name is Dr. Silkman, and I'm from Adelaide, South Australia. Welcome to the Foul Play team. All right, Jack 61, before we start, can you put up those warnings, please?
I will.
Just so that everyone is aware of them. And yeah, so we'll just wait for Jack 61 to put up those warnings. And Alice, would you like to read out who's actually in chat? Who have we got who's joining us so far?
Yeah, sure, Doc. We've got in Neverly's in chat. We've got Little Drummer Girl. We have the lovely Catnip. We've got Rhonda. We've got Michelle C. We've got TTM Fangirl. We have the lovely Dark Side of the Moon. We have Iced Coffee. Clive Coolidge. We have Crockett. We have Gloria. We've got Colette M. Hugh Fraser. Under Your Scars. Case 10. Let's see. TTM Fangirls became a member for another month.
Thank you so much. Member for 12 months.
Yeah, I'm sure I've seen Andy B in there somewhere, but my list is only going up so far. So if I've missed you, I do apologise. If you've just put another wee message in, and we'll get to you when we're on a break or whatever. So
Anthony,
I think I think Anthony Hills or Anthony D has become a member as well. I'm sure I've
Yay.
seen that.
Yes, Anthony D. He's foul play obsessed.
And we welcome Michelle C. She's just subscribed. Fantastic. That's awesome. All right. And if we've missed anybody out, we do apologize. But
Yeah, it's Colette M, Anthony D, Under Your Scars, Pete Moss, JD, Names Live 7, Case 10.
Yep, got them.
Colette,
Got them.
yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. It
Awesome.
was
Master
just one
Cedar.
pickup. Master Cedar.
Awesome. It's great to have everyone here, guys. Thank you so much. And Jack61 has just put up those warnings. Please, if it gets too heavy or you're finding that you're triggered, we understand, right? Because all of us on the panel did last week. So, we're all human. All right, guys. Well, look, let's start the podcast proper. We're actually on page 22. Neverly and Jack61, if you can put up page 22. So just to get everybody up to speed, Kratz has been doing this. He's been sexually harassing victims for many, many years. And one lady in particular, Stephanie Van Grohl, had the courage to actually come forward and put in a complaint against Mr. Kratz. So what we're going to be doing is continuing her trial and tribulation. Neverly, are you okay to continue? It's the second sentence where it starts about 10 minutes later. You're good to go,
Motion
Neverly?
granted. Motion granted.
Motion granted. Let's make a start, guys.
Okay. About 10 minutes later came the first of a barrage of text messages thumbed out by Kratz. The text messages continued over a period of the next 2 days. Van Grohl indicated she felt vulnerable because she had just told Kratz the relationship that Van Grohl was in, and she felt Kratz was taking advantage of that situation.
Right. So we've seen that this is the way Mr. Kratz works. This is his MO, right? Now, as you know, all these particular ladies, they were all in a vulnerable position. Mr. Kratz had a very senior position being the district attorney. And it's very interesting how the victims themselves felt under pressure. Does anyone have any comments, guys, to make on that?
Yes. These
Yes,
are the
Tim.
victims of domestic violence. So they are in a relationship, whether they're married or just with significant others, that some harm was done to them. So they sought help through the Victim of Domestic Violence Board, where Kratz was sitting as a chairman. So
Correct.
he was like a big fish in a small pond, perfect, surrounded with all these ladies who've been harassed by some manner, assaulted, R-word, and everything else, and he was taking advantage of them, which is the lowest of the low.
I do agree with you. I think this is one of the most dangerous situations you can find yourself in. Okay, you're really at the mercy and at the hands of those who are trying to help you. And unfortunately, Mr. Kratz overstepped his mark and took advantage of these ladies, which was shocking. Jack61.
Just briefly, just want to remind everyone that in we were talking about it. I think that Susan maybe had asked me, think about this this women's shelter or this organization that Kratz was the president of starting in 98 or 99. And I think he actually helped form that. But nonetheless, whether he did or not, it doesn't matter. He was the leader. So he had this direct access to, these various vulnerable, hurt women that he could do whatever. And again, I'm a strong believer. I don't expect, this is just speculation on my part and opinion, that there are many women out there that he approached, possibly even assaulted, or at minimum said stuff to that was really inappropriate that have never come forward. We've never heard from them because of embarrassment, shame,
Okay.
whatever.
Okay.
Fear.
Well, yes.
Should
Well,
be in
look,
prison.
100% agree. I'm gonna ask the panel a very controversial question, and I also want people in chat to answer yes or no. So we're conducting almost like a poll. If this happened to you, you were a victim of domestic violence, and you encountered someone like Mr. Kratz, who was putting you in a very compromising position, and you felt extremely uncomfortable, would you report that person? All I need is a yes or no. Alice, would you report that person if you were in that situation?
Yes, damn right I would.
Okay. I don't recall.
I would.
Okay. Susan.
You bet I would. And I would also sue the bastard.
Okay. Jack 61.
You know, I have to preface this, and I understand that where the ladies are coming from, but I also have to consider. I think about Stephanie Van Grohl that really was in a bad place. She had nothing. You know, all these other factors come into play, and I get the anger. I do. Please trust me. I'm not saying you're wrong because I don't think you are, but when you're faced with, you don't have money to buy food, other factors they play a part in what your next steps are going to be.
Yes.
So in that situation, Doc, I'm probably, and there's a fear factor too. It's not just that. There's a fear factor.
And intimidation.
That's right. So with that, I'm almost teetering on the brink of wobbling back and forth on the yes and no. I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to say it would be a fearful yes. I had to add that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jack 61. Just Rhonda, what about yourself if you were in that situation?
I'm so sorry. Could you repeat that?
No, not at all. The question is, if you're in the situation of where Stephanie Van Grohl found herself in, would you have immediately reported Mr. Kratz?
The person that I am now, absolutely. 30 or 40 years ago, probably not.
Okay. Thank you for your honesty, Just Rhonda. I appreciate that. Neville, what about yourself?
Same as Rhonda and Jack explained, depending on the situation and circumstances. If I was a single mom with 4 kids and didn't have money for food and being in fear of my ex or whatever present significant other and having to deal with a creep like Kratz, I don't know what I would do. But now, knowing better, I definitely would.
Yes.
A few years before, I would be scared.
Yes. And
Too much
yes, I really have to say the same thing. Your first intentions is definitely to report, but there are so many factors that go through your mind because you are in a vulnerable position. It is asymmetric, means that the abuser has all the power. And essentially, if you do report, the consequences on yourself, being a whistleblower, can be very, very harsh. So the point I'm trying to make is, on the outset, it looks very easy. Yeah, no hassles. I'll report him. He's a scumbag. But then you look at the blowback, the potential blowback on yourself. It's not easy. And that's why people like in the position of being in politics, police, the law, teachers, priests, have gotten away with this for a long period of time because there's a wall of silence and a wall of protection around them. So I must admit, it's not easy. I agree with Jack. I agree with everyone on the panel. Your first thought with your experience now is, yeah, burn in hell. But you think yourself back when you were young, vulnerable, in a position of trust. It's not an easy decision at all. But thank you guys, and also thank you very much for the people in chat who answered. It's a tricky one. It's definitely a tricky one. Susan, yes.
I'd just like to say that's why Stephanie Van Grohl is such a hero to come forward
She
the way
is.
she did. Had she not come forward, we wouldn't know about this.
Oh, that's correct.
More
That's
than
correct.
likely.
Yep, 100% correct. And we'll see what Mr. Kratz was trying to do when all this exploded. Neverly, would you like to continue, please?
Sure. By October 30th, 2009, the Wisconsin Department of Justice got involved in the case. The DCI's Peter Thielen reached out to an agent he knew had a long-time professional relationship with Kratz. It was Tom Fassbender.
Oh, God. Now, can anyone
Nice.
see any potential conflict of interest right there? Anyone want to make a comment?
So this is the scary part. This is the very scary part that we're saying, like, what do you, if you report? They're so connected and protected that basically they can just maul you. Same thing like at the job, if you have an inappropriate boss, what do you do? What do you do? Who do you report? Do you call HR? Who's to say that the lady or whatever the person that's the working in HR is not tight with the person that you want to report about? It's very, very tricky and very risky.
Correct, and that's exactly what we're seeing in the Alex Murdoch trial.
Mm-hmm.
They all know each other. They're all attorneys. They're all big knobs, big wigs in the profession. And lo and behold, have a look at this. Who did they call? They called Tom Fassbender. Jack 61.
Yeah, I had one of our regulars send me an email with a link, and I don't want to drag another case into it, but I would imagine it's going to hit the news. It probably already has, and I just haven't seen it myself. But in West Virginia, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, the state troopers office agency in West Virginia. There's so many abuses, and it goes all the way to the top of who's running the state troopers in West Virginia. I'm talking about affairs. It's just an array. It's not just one thing. It's many things.
Correct.
So if you think about it in that situation, somebody trying to report, and like you said, Doc, you don't know who knows who, and you could really screw yourself because these people can turn on you, and they have the authority.
Correct. 100% correct. And, this really is a massive issue, and it is deadly serious because we've all heard of cases whereby if there's any rumors of a particular individual doing something nefarious and management get wind of it, what they normally do is they move that individual somewhere else, right? This happens in the priesthood all the time. There are many cases in which priests have been people have pointed a finger at them that they're involved in some type of abuse. And what the hierarchy do is they move them to another parish, right? They move them on because they don't want the controversy. And when you think about it, when someone's out of control, like a teacher, like an attorney, it can have a devastating effect. Look no further than what's happening in the Alex Murdoch trial. The entire dynasty has been affected. Now, if you're part of the criminal justice system, which a district attorney is, guys, I don't have to tell you, this is savage for the entire law enforcement community, right? When there's a bad egg, either the response can be, okay, we're going to make an example out of this individual. And the other option, of course, is we're going to sweep it under the carpet. Right, guys? We've all seen it. We've all had professional careers, guys. We've seen this happen many, many times. So they call up Tom Fassbender, of all people to call up. All right. Alice, guys, if there are any questions in chat, please ask them as well. We're dynamic. If there's some good questions, we'll answer them on the fly. Neverly, would you like to continue?
Yes, yes. And just a little side note, I am the credentialing person at my place where I work, and I
Yes.
do the onboarding. The first thing that we do with first 30 minutes with a new hire is to set them up, and they do the sexual harassment
Yes.
little module. So it's that serious. It's that serious because nowadays people are allergic to that. And we talked about male-female relationships at work or senior over the subordinates and whatnot. It's like very, very serious. And yeah, so if you're ever in that position at work or whatnot, know that HR has a clause. It's a law. They must have a clause on sexual harassment. So keep that in mind.
But you must admit, and hopefully everyone on the panel agrees, the number one person that should have been fully aware of all these issues was Mr. Kratz himself. Agree, guys?
Oh, absolutely.
He can have no excuses for his behavior. Jack,
yeah, definitely. He's because he's prosecutor. He has to know the laws and regulations, of the region. I mean, they vary by region and state, but they're still all pretty much the same. Wording a little bit different, but absolutely, he should know.
Yeah,
Correct.
but that's the problem and that's actually the level of bravery that Stephanie Van Grol had, knowing that he is it. He is the guy who makes it or breaks it. He pretty much makes the rules, right? And should be following, but he's not. How do you go against that person? How do you stand up? And she did. So that's the bravery, that you do something when it's really hard, when you're really scared, to stand up and do it. That's being brave.
100%. And I agree with
That's right.
Under the Scar, Under Your Scars, who said complete unjust. He never received jail in his position. Yes, correct. When, unfortunately, guys, we've all seen it. When there are protected species out there that can really literally get away with some of these horrendous crimes, where is the justice? And yet here is a man in court who made the murder of Teresa Horbach into a sexually motivated trial, and the same with Brendan Dassey. Remember what Fallon said in court? He wanted to know what it was like to have sex with a woman, right? And that's why Brendan Dassey did it. And yet we've got Mr. Kratz in the background harassing victims of domestic and sexual abuse. Whoa, what? He did it before and he did it after, right, guys? And I'm saying, how on earth didn't Mr. Kratz recuse himself and say, look, due to my addictive personality and behaviors, I can't sit on as a prosecuting attorney. Yet he did, right? And when the fallout happened to him, he wanted everyone not to talk about it, not to discuss it. Right, Jack 61? Right, guys? He wanted it out of the media. Right, guys?
He wanted to hide it, yes.
Absolutely.
He wanted to hide his tracks, right? He wanted to hide his tracks.
I definitely
did nothing wrong.
I would suggest
illegal.
anyone that has questions of it, go to Comedy Leader Brian, and I'll try to pull up a link here if one of the mods don't get it. The Ken Kratz scandal links, and read the conversation between him and Kevin Potter, which was worked at the DOJ, and the absolute extreme that Kratz went to. Oh my God, it's crazy.
Oh, correct. And guys, we've got a treat for you coming up, and that is that I was able to get the I think it's a deposition or the actual trial transcript of Mr. Kratz being grilled for the Stephanie Van Grol. I think it was just Stephanie Van Grol, and I promise we're going to cover that. We're going to do a couple of probably a couple of presentations, but we'll be able to hear it from Mr. Kratz himself, right, guys? And I'll tell you what, every page we have to flash the trigger warnings. Right, guys? It's going to be a nightmare to do, but we must do it. All right. Neville, would you like to continue reading?
Sure. Peter Thelen had contact with Special Agent Thomas J. Fassbender, who confirmed redacted phone number listed in the official police report was a cellular telephone number used by Calumet County District Attorney Ken Kratz. Fassbender had prior contacts with Kratz at said number when making telephone contacts with Kratz in an official capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Now that the Wisconsin DOJ was involved, however, the criminal case that had been turned over to them was destined to disappear.
Yep. Is anyone here on the panel surprised by that?
Nope.
Anyone?
Sadly, no.
No.
3 days.
Surprised, but it pisses me off.
Correct. 100% correct.
Yeah.
Neville.
3 days after the conversation with Fassbender, the special agent in charge at the Appleton office got a call from Kratz, who is listed on the investigative reports as being a person of interest. Peter Thelen received a telephone call from Calumet County District Attorney Kenneth Kratz regarding this case, reports from November 2, 2009 show. He inquired as to whether there was still a criminal investigation going on regarding this, and Special Agent Thelen responded no, that the case was done as far as the special agent in charge Thelen was concerned. Kratz wanted reassurance that the case was closed, which is what he got.
Yep.
Mr. Kratz then offered to apologize to Stephanie if special agent in charge Thelen were able to mediate this. Thelen told Kratz that he would pass this information along.
Right. So notice who was calling all the shots here, right? It was Mr. Kratz calling all the shots, and he wanted to apologize to Stephanie Van Grohl under his terms and his conditions, right? And Jack 61, if we can have the next slide. Now, really, this is for people who are new to this case, who may not know who Tom Fassbender is. And if you have a look at this picture over here, you can see Mr. Kratz in that yellow type of jumper. And to his left-hand side, as in when you're looking at the picture, the gentleman in the tie, that's Tom Fassbender, right? And he was a special investigator, and along with the guy next to him in the balding head, who Jack 61 has had a lot of contact with, is Mark Wiegert. Now, why these two guys are so infamous is that both Tom Fassbender and Mark Wiegert elicited a false confession from Brendan Dassey, right, who then presented that false confession to Mr. Kratz, who read it out basically on the March the 2nd press conference. So put it this way, Tom Fassbender knew who Mr. Kratz was. They had a lot of contact together, and it's rather remarkable that it's like Dracula to look after the blood bank. It's absolutely crazy. Jack 61.
Just briefly, I just wanted to add in anyone that follows the Avery Dassey cases. This Peter Thelen was involved. I know that we don't really hear his name, but if you look at the DCI reports, you'll see that he authored many of them, and we don't have that many. Maybe a few. I can't think of really too many off the top of my head, but he was involved pretty heavily in the cases.
Correct. So therefore, guys, where's the impartiality? Where is the impartiality? They all know each other, right? They all know each other. And then now they're trying to sanction Mr. Kratz. You know, guys, it's not going to work at all, right? It's an absolute shit show. It's ridiculous. Okay, Neville, if we can continue reading.
Sure.
Page 25. Thank you, Jack 61.
Then Kratz made a second request. Mr. Kratz mentioned that he would like to keep this out of the media, if possible. Talon advised Mr. Kratz that the complaint originated from another agency and DCI was obligated to investigate, at which time Mr. Kratz said that he understood. 2 months later, Kratz was up to his old dirty tricks again.
Now, this actually says a lot, right? First of all, Mr. Kratz had to have known that he transgressed and transgressed badly, but he wanted to sweep it under the rug. He did not want this out in the public because he knew it was going to look bad. Yet, guys, did he have any hesitation of doing the March 2nd press conference and basically removing the right to being deemed innocent, right? The right of innocence with Stephen and Brendan. Did he have any qualms at all?
No.
None whatsoever.
We already established that he fucking enjoyed it.
Correct.
Now, when there was a difficult question, he literally jumped over to get to answer it. He goes, "Oh, I will be happy to answer this question." Whatever.
Correct. You almost sounded like Susan there for a second.
Oh, you can't beat Susan.
No, nobody can beat Susan with Mr. Isn't that right, Sugar?
Sugar stepped away.
Yeah, I think so. Right,
Yeah,
Susan.
you know, he will.
Do you feel like we're personally attacking you, Mr. Kratz?
Yes, but I love it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So
Negative attention is still attention, right?
Still attention.
Exactly.
100% correct. So we have this bizarre situation whereby he obviously knew he came very, very close with Stephanie Van Grohl, the consequences of doing what he did. Yet, do you think he learned his lesson? Mr. Kratz didn't learn his lesson. And let me tell you right now, right? We've read his book. We've gone through his book. One thing that really upset Mr. Kratz to no end were that the directors, filmmakers of Making a Murderer featured this in the documentary. And as a consequence, millions of people got to know what Mr. Kratz did. Right, Jack 61?
That's right.
The cat was out of the bag.
That's right. And like I said before, you really have to read the exchange between Kratz and Kevin Potter after this open records request was granted and they released these documents and so forth to Ron Foley, and it got out. And this should hit, you have to keep in mind, everyone, especially the new people that may not be aware, this was almost a year after the fact. Nothing had been done in Stephanie's case at all. Nothing.
Yes, 100% correct. So unfortunately, Mr. Kratz had not learned his lesson. Neville, would you like to continue?
Sure. Don M. King of Green Bay, 46.
Hold on. What's immediately wrong right there?
Wrong age.
Wrong age.
Yeah.
Correct. Mr. Kratz, what does I'll ask Susan. Mr. Kratz, what age females do you normally prefer?
I'm not picky at all.
Barely legal.
Barely legal. And below
I like
25.
them all.
I like them.
Anyone that will. Anybody that'll, that I can talk into it. Yeah.
Correct. Now, so Dawn King was significantly older than what Mr. Kratz is normally attracted to. Continue, Neville.
Don M. King of Green Bay, 46, met Kratz through the Match.com dating site in January 2010. it was Kratz who pursued her rather than the other way around. King stated that she had reservations about DA Kratz from the beginning of his contacts with her, starting with the name he used on his Match.com profile, which was XBoyToy1.
Now, hold on.
Cringe.
Whatever you do, guys, do not put in XBoyToy1 in a Google search engine with your children around you. Whatever you do not put XBoyToy1, and now watch, everyone's now doing it, in a search engine with young people around. It's a shocker. Jack 61.
Cringe.
I want to ask a question of the panel and those in chat. This is a kind of rhetorical, at least it is for me. But what else was going on? What started in January of 2010? And I'm going to say it was the 12th, but maybe a day or two off on that. But it was January 12th, 2010. What was going on?
What's that, Stevens Pro Se?
No, that was 2013. No. I'll tell you, I won't keep everybody hanging. It was Brendan's post-conviction hearings.
Yes. Yes. Interesting. We need to do a chronology bad. Thank you, Jack 61.
Yep.
So make sure you don't put in XBoyToy1 in a search engine and check the images. It ain't good. Neverly, keep going.
Well, guess what? I just did it.
You just did. Oh no! Oh no!
I just did it.
You want to
And
tell the
there's a
panel?
meme. Yeah, there's a meme of a
Yeah.
lady justice holding the scales of justice, right? And there's
Yes.
Kratz depicted. It's all a caricature. It's a cartoon, right? And he's holding a cell phone, and he says, "I wonder who that hot young nymph is. I better send her a text message." Yeah, I'll put it in the.
Correct.
I'll put
Now-
it in this later on.
Now, of course, the reason why you put in XBoyToy1 is because you were doing scientific research. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, correct. Only that. Yeah.
The panel forgives you. All right, keep going,
Thank
guys.
you. King stated that she did not know who DA Kratz was when he first started contacting her.
One moment, Neverly. If we can just have a look at the picture of what Mr. Kratz used as his picture for his profile as XBoyToy1. All right. Yes. Now this was taken from his personal computer when it was taken from his office. All right. That's his profile picture. I do apologize. I knew we should have put up the trigger warning, right, Jack 61?
Yeah, I forgot this one was in the order. I apologize for not giving everybody a warning.
No, that's a trigger warning right there. All right. Neverly, would you like to continue?
Sure. She knew he was an attorney because of the fact was written in his Match.com profile. On January 23rd, 2000, she agreed to meet Kratz for dinner at the Black and Tan Grill in De Pere. Is that how you pronounce it, De Pere?
I think so.
Which is a nice suburban community along the Fox River next to Green Bay. The Black and Tan was also an upscale restaurant. King said that D.A. Kratz talked about himself during their dinner. Shocker. He talked about going to Las Vegas, poker, his wife, and his divorce. He also talked about cases he was working on. Nice. During the dinner, a detective called Kratz, and Kratz had no qualms about discussing the criminal case in front of her, even though she told him she understood if he needed to step away to take a call and talk in private. But he continued to talk in front of her. King gathered from the conversation that she heard that the detectives were searching some place at the time. D.A. Kratz and the detectives we're talking about looking for evidence and searching a car and the trunk of a car. The detective wanted to bring the person in for questioning, but DA Kratz told the detective to wait until they found more physical evidence. After the dinner date, she searched the internet for information and learned that there was a missing woman from Chilton. During dinner, DA Kratz told King that the detectives were at the boyfriend's house searching. DA Kratz made some reference to her about going to the crime scene with him and made a comment about her wearing heels. King said she did not want to be traipsing through a crime scene.
Now,
Jesus.
guys, let's have a quick yes or no. I mean, is this ethical by Mr. Kratz talking about a crime, a missing woman, and basically saying, would you like to come to the crime scene with me, but you have to wear heels? Do you think that's ethical? Alice?
It's sick. Sorry.
Alice?
No, 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 no.
Are you if you're on a date with Mr. Kratz, would you be impressed or
What
disgusted?
the hell? I would have took the shoe off and hit him with it. Tell me piss off, you dirty pervert.
Thank you very much there, Alice. What about you? I don't recall. Do you think that was an ethical thing for a DA to say to his date?
No, not at all. It's disgusting.
Okay. What about you, Susan?
It is disgusting. Makes me wonder if he took one to the salvage yard.
Yep. Interesting. Jack 61.
It's really inappropriate, but there are, and I mean no disrespect by this at all. There are males and females both alike that would be impressed with somebody that had that kind of authority. Hey, you want to go into the crime scene? Check this out. This is some crazy stuff. You got to go. Come on, let's go. So for
But
him,
you gotta wear heels, right? High heels.
yeah, what? By God,
Come
man.
on, Jack 61. What are you trying to say here? What are you trying to say here, good buddy?
I mean, there's just no way that's totally unethical.
Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. What about you, Just Rhonda? Would you be impressed?
I would not be impressed, but I I would love to go to a crime scene, but it wouldn't be with somebody like him.
But would
I
you
know
wear
that's,
high heels though? But would you wear high heels,
no,
Just Rhonda?
no, I'd be saying, well, let me go home and change into my jeans and tennies first.
Yes, correct. Thank you so much, Just Rhonda. And now, Neverly, would you be impressed?
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, first of all, this is a sad situation. You know what I mean? And even though most of us
Yes.
have morbid curiosities, this is a murder case, right? And he wants her to show her off. And it's basically really disrespectful and insulting. You know what I mean? So, what, you wouldn't want to take me to the crime scene if I was wearing, as Rhonda said, tennis shoes? What is the point of all of this? The
Correct.
point is he wants to show her off. That's what it is, in my humble opinion.
Correct. And we've obviously triggered Clive Coolidge. He's now gone on a different tangent over here. He's generating his own crime scene. All right. It's totally unethical, right? I mean, for God's sake, Wisconsin didn't even allow their own state coroner to go on the crime scene. And here's Mr. Kratz inviting someone on a date to go to a crime scene as long as they wear high heels. That's completely crazy. Just Rhonda.
Well, I just want to say too that, and I know this wasn't the question, but it was also highly unethical and improper and inappropriate for him to even take that phone call in front of her and discuss any part of the case, whether she was hearing names or locations or whatever, doesn't matter. He's still talking about a crime that may or may
Yeah,
not show up in the news at some point, if it
yeah,
hadn't already. And
yeah.
so that was all by itself, just to start with, that was improper and unethical.
Yeah, but thank you, just Rhonda. You're 100% correct. But you know what the gist is? The gist is the detective was obviously saying, "Hey, you're the district attorney. You better come down here." And he's basically going, "No, no, 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 no. Gather more evidence," because he obviously thought he was on a hot date. He didn't want to interrupt his date, right? As the district attorney, if a detective calls you, says, "Look, we're looking for a missing person. I think you better come down here." Yet he put all that aside and was continuing with his date. Jack 61.
That's right. I'm sorry.
Do you have a comment?
Where do I start? No, I think no. I'm good, Doc. I think Rhonda made a really good point that I have to agree with her. He should have stepped away, and she invited him to do so. She understood, she knew that he was a prosecutor and he shouldn't be talking about shit in front of her. But for him, this is a power trip. I can see
totally.
it. Right, Everly? I mean, God.
Totally. Just showing off. This is like, yeah.
100%
equivalent to bragging about the size of his certain body part. You know what I mean? This is just it.
That's right. That's exactly right. Fishing trip. I mean, he's like, I caught him. For him, if he wasn't fishing, he's going to catch a fish that's half as long as the boat. Everything for him is about power, and for him, I'm sure he was salivating over this one.
Bragging, basically. Yeah.
100% correct. All right, Neverly, would you like to continue?
Sure. It turned out that the case involved a murder. A boyfriend was accused of killing his girlfriend, and the crime scene apparently crossed county lines. King stated that DA Kratz drank a lot the night of their date. She said they had first met in the downstairs bar and had one drink there, and then they shared a bottle of wine with dinner. King stopped drinking after dinner, but DA Kratz continued to drink several more drinks in the bar after dinner while we listened to a live band in there. King stated that DA Kratz was not worried about drinking and driving, and he thought he was above the law. DA Kratz told King that he would not have a problem if he was stopped while driving home because he had friends.
Now, do we know any other situation in which someone high up, a certain female, got pinged for driving?
Yeah.
Sounds like Austin Slugger. Yeah.
Back. That's right. The AG.
The Attorney General herself. Thank you very much. And obviously, Mr. Kratzfeld, bulletproof too, right? Is it true? But if it was you and I that got pinged for drink driving, we would probably end up with a huge fine, demerit points, and possibly end up in the slammer. But for these guys, they're bulletproof. They're untouchable. And honestly, what type of example do you set, right? And here's the scary thing. I know I'm stretching it a bit too far, but that's a shocking attitude where he says, I have no issues drinking and driving. Remember what happened to poor Ricky Hochschlatter?
That's right.
A hit and run. And it was likely that it was somebody, a law enforcement officer, who came from a party intoxicated, who also shouldn't have been drinking and driving. And yet here we go with such a nonchalant attitude. Yeah, I could drink, I could drive, I'll be protected. Guys, that truly is shocking. And of course, the analogy is, what did they do to Jodie Stokowski? How many times did she get put in prison for DUI? Right?
Oh, she had her ass handed to her, but she kept doing it.
She kept on doing it. 100% correct.
And also for just bypassing Steven by chance. Do you remember that? So she wasn't even drinking or driving. They just saw each other, and that was it.
That's 100%
and that was by chance.
Yep. So in other words, guys, for some people, they get the book thrown at them. For others, they turn a blind eye, right? So there's no, what can I say? There's no justice. It's one law for one and one law for another, unfortunately. All right. Neverly, would you like to continue?
Sure. The next day, the text messages started. They found a body, Kratz texted her. King said she thought it was weird and absolutely wrong that DA Kratz was telling her this information about his professional work. She said she was surprised and shocked that he would divulge such information being in the position that he was.
Now,
And mind you, they just met. They just met.
That that's highly unethical and
Mhm.
very, very likely illegal because it's confidential information. Jack 61.
Yeah, for him, he's taken legally binding oaths for his position, and that kind of stuff you don't talk about. Legally, I think you're probably right, Doc. He could have possibly gotten some serious trouble with the Bar Association or the OLR anyway.
100% correct. If it's to do with work-related matter, especially something as sensitive as this, you don't tell a complete stranger, even someone that you met on a date, right? That's meant to be confidential. You don't disclose that type of information, especially if there's a criminal investigation going on. Jack 61.
I mean, she could have been, good friends with a reporter. She could have just blabbed it, It's just, it's wrong. Completely wrong.
Yep, correct. All right. Neville, would you like to continue?
Sure. If that wasn't weird enough, Kratz informed her about the upcoming autopsy for the victim and invited her to accompany him to the morgue. Jesus Christ.
Yep.
He invited King to go along with him as long as she would wear heels and act as his girlfriend. King stated that she thought this was wrong on so many levels. But the text did not stop.
Now, I don't even know where to start, right? Mr. Kratz. Now, guys, or the ladies, how would you feel if you were in her situation whereby the district attorney asks you to attend an autopsy, but you got to wear heels and pretend to be Mr. Kratz's girlfriend?
Like
Alice.
an escort. Like an
Yes.
escort. That's how
Like
I would
an
feel.
escort. Let's go around the panel. Alice, what do you think about that?
Yeah. Just, yeah. No, it's just, no, I'd think he was a creep if he asked me to do something like that. What an utter creep, and I'd run a mile. I would run a mile.
Yep. It's incredibly bizarre, that's for sure. What about you? I don't recall.
No, thank you. I would not do it.
Yep.
I'd be disgusted.
Yep. What about you, Susan?
First place, I would never go on a dating app. That shit scares the hell out of me. You never know who you're going to run into, but somebody acting like that, oh my God, Jesus. Yeah. It would be weird as
Bizarre.
hell.
Bizarre.
Bizarre.
What about you, Jack 61?
Yeah, God, it's so creepy. I can't even, I wasn't like a dating hound, back before marriage many years ago, but that is so foreign to my brain. I can't even, it doesn't compute.
No, it's completely bizarre. Thank you, Jack 61. What about you, Just Rhonda?
Oh, I would. Well, I don't know why she had any further contact with him, or if she was even responding to these text messages from him. But I might possibly just go to the trouble of changing my phone number altogether. Honest, and I'm not being flippant. I'm being serious, because that is some strange behavior that would terrify me.
That is indeed true. 100% correct. What about you, Neville? Put on some lipstick, high heels, and accompany Mr. Kratz to the morgue?
Yeah, that's like really wrong on so many levels. First of all, as I said, I would feel like I was hired to pretend to be his girlfriend, so i.e. an escort. And then when you think about it, for him to do that, why is he doing that? He's just boasting himself. He's selling himself to him, how special he is, right? And the
Yes.
level of insecurities, basically, when you think about it, that he can't attract a woman and make himself feel so appear interesting as a person that he has to resort to such a low level, on top of being unprofessional and unethical and everything else. You know,
Correct.
he's doing it for attention again.
100% correct. Now, I want
What
to
about
introduce.
you?
Definitely not. No, I wouldn't put on high heels or go with Mr. Kratz anywhere, especially to a morgue. I mean, think about the insensitive nature of it for a start. It's completely ridiculous. Alice.
Just to say, we've got another few people who's joined us in chat. Doc, we've got Mark Kaz who's joined us in chat. Jazz
Welcome.
Naz has joined us. Who else was it that I've seen? JD's joined us. Who else? There was somebody else. Behind the Magic has joined us. Yoga for the Ageless has joined us. And I'm sure Cher has joined us. And I'm sure there was somebody else. I think William Falk Jr. as well joined us, but he was higher up in the list. I think he's joined us as well. So hello and welcome to everyone who's just joined us in the last few minutes or so.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, guys, and thank you so much for your support. Now, Neville just read in the previous page that the fact that Mr. Kratz wanted to invite his date to wear high heels, pretend to be his girlfriend, and attend a autopsy of a woman who's just been murdered. Neville, did you have a comment?
No.
Okay. Now, I want you to have a read and listen to this. This is what Mr. Kratz said in his opening statement at the Stephen Avery trial. Susan, are you prepared to read this page? Can you see it?
Sure. Sugar.
Yeah. This is what Mr. Kratz said about Teresa Horbach. Let's go for it.
I'm going to introduce you to somebody. This remarkable young woman was 25 years of age. She was single. She was a freelance photographer. She had her own photography business that was, although in its infancy, was doing quite well. This woman, and I will remind you several times in this opening and throughout the trial, I will remind you that we're talking about a real person. We're talking about somebody's daughter, somebody's sister, a lot of people's friend. Teresa Halbach had her whole life in front of her, and the evidence is going to show that on the Halloween of 2005, that all ended in the hands of the defendant, Stephen Avery.
Thank you, Susan. Now, guys, you tell me, what is the difference here with Mr. Kratz saying this in a court of law, right? Obviously describing how Teresa Halbach was sister, friends, her career, her whole future, and how, how he poured his heart out, which is entitled to do, and yet in the previous passage, he wanted to bring a date in high heels to pretend she was his girlfriend to watch an autopsy of a murdered victim. You notice the difference in the way he treated and talked about Teresa Horbach and this other poor woman who also was someone's daughter, who also had a career, who also may have had children, and who was liked by many people. And yet Mr. Kratz had no problems in trying to bring a date to watch this woman's autopsy. Guys, do we have any comments? Because I found that very revealing about Mr. Kratz and totally shocking in the change of attitude. Jack 61.
I'll let the ladies have the bulk of if they have any comments, but to me, it shows how Kratz truly objectifies women. He thinks of them as an object for him to toy with, to him to do whatever he wants. That's what I get. Now, I'm not a woman, maybe their feelings are different, but that's what I get from it. He has absolutely zero respect. None.
Yes, I agree with you 100%, Jack 61. Susan, your comments, please.
Simply put, Kratz is a sick fuck.
Look, I reckon we can stop the podcast right now. You summed it up perfectly. But do you see what I'm trying to get at? And that's why I put up this passage. The comparison, the contrast in which he presented Teresa Horbach in court, showed respect, showed restraint, made her out to be a human being, which of course is the right thing to do. And yet the other victim who was going to have an autopsy was just nothing to him but something to impress his date. Could you imagine if Teresa Horbach, God bless her, rest in peace, had to have an autopsy? They found her body and Mr. Kratz was going to roll up with a date to witness her autopsy? We have lost our bloody collective minds here, right? Susan, do you have a comment?
Nan's live comment is very poignant. She says so many nice things Kratz says about a victim that he and law enforcement absolutely screwed the pooch on the investigation of her apparent death. Gaslighting at its best.
Yes. Thank you very much, Nan's
Totally
live
agree.
Yep. 100% correct. But it goes to show the lack of professionalism by Mr. Kratz, right? Hey, a victim is a victim is a victim, no matter the circumstances, right? And to show utter respect for one and zero respect for another, I think is actually very, very telling. Does anyone else have any other comments?
Well, the lack of sensitivity, the sensitivity chip is really missing from Kratz, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't do it. And not to mention the hypocrisy, not to mention, the do as I said, not what I do. And this is actually Kratz. We are getting to know him better than he knows himself.
I'm afraid we are correct. And you said the right thing there, Neverly, in my opinion, a lack of respect, a lack of dignity. You know what I mean? You don't play games like that. Just Rhonda, can I have your comments, please?
Yes, to kind of build off of what Neverly said about his sensitivity chip, that's AKA lack of empathy, which is a sign of a true psychopath.
That's a very good point. That's a very, very good point.
Yeah, lack of respect. This is what he does. Okay, we need to understand with people like Kratz, who was diagnosed. We did not diagnose him, but he said himself that he was diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. This is what I do. Absolutely, this is what I do. And he told us what he does. The riskier, the better, right?
Correct.
How many times have we heard that? So this is just his way to get a supply, emotional supply from the next victim. In this case, it's what's her name, Dawn King, right?
Yes.
But he does this all the time. he needs to have this thrill. Oh, just come to the autopsy of a murdered victim, and wear miniskirt and high heels and pretend that you're my girlfriend. Who the fuck does that?
It's there's no I'm sorry, but there's no moral compass. There's simply
No.
no moral compass. And imagine, guys, before we get on to Susan and Jack, imagine the district attorney showing up with an unknown person in high heels and makeup and a nice dress, watching an autopsy. Right? Let's get some sanity going here. Susan, thank you, Neverly. Susan, your comments, please.
I think it's interesting hearing his opening statement where he says, I will remind you that we're talking about a real person.
Yes.
I don't think Kratz looked at Teresa as a real person. She was just a thing to use, a means to an end.
An object.
I mean, soon.
An object.
An object. Means to an end. Yep.
Correct. Because I'm not sure, guys, whether the state actually brought in the box of bones. Remember that pizza-sized box of bones that harbored Teresa Halbach's remains. I'm not sure whether they showed the actual box in court, but they certainly showed a picture. And remember what Mr. Kratz said, guys. This is Teresa Halbach's tibia bone. This is Karen Halbach's daughter's tibia bone. He made it personal. It's not just a number. It's just not an image. It's not just a whatever. And yet he did the freaking opposite to that poor lady who was just about to have an autopsy. So I agree with you guys. Teresa Halbach was an object to him in order to nail Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. Jack 61.
To further prove that point, remember last week in part 1 of this, how he treated Stephanie. Left the money.
Yes.
Well, first he made her, do some business to him, and then, called her. That's how you do it. I can't remember the exact wording. Left money on her kitchen table that she didn't know about. Again,
correct.
completely objectifying her. Completely.
100% correct. And that's a real worry. And remember what he did to that young girl who was wanting to do law.
That's right. That's right.
Playing all those sexual games. Or what would you do? Or what would you do? So Mr. Kratz was actually on a very clever fishing expedition. What is she prepared to do? Right? And to me, that is simply shocking. Right? It's like you going to a doctor, a female going to a male doctor, and the female coming in and saying, I've got a sore toe. And the doctor turns around and says, take off all your clothes. I'll examine you from head to toe. And you're going, what? Wait a minute. And don't laugh. There have been doctors who have been put in prison and lost their medical license for doing exactly that.
And rightfully so.
Correct. For exploiting women and also men as well. But Mr. Kratz was playing a very, very dangerous game. And notice, each one of his so-called victims were in vulnerable positions, right? What did that girl say who was trying to do law? I need him to drop that felony charge. Otherwise, I can't do this and I can't do that. So Kratz was rubbing his hands saying, I've got all the power. Jack 61, another comment. Correct.
No. You pretty well covered it, dog. No, I agree with you. You think about.
I have a.
You think about I'm sorry, Neverly. You think about a female going in. Let's say she has a really bad abscess tooth, and she manages to get in and see a dentist, and he's like, oh, what are you willing to do for me to take care of this? He's got all the power. And she's in dire pain, has been for days. What are you willing to do? It's so it's so bad.
Yeah, and I forgot. Yes, you're right, Jack 61. Yoga for the Ages said it. The U.S. gymnastics doctor who did all these inappropriate, shall I just say, pelvic examination of the women. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's another trigger warning. Neverly, do you have a comment?
Yes,
And
what
then
I
we'll
actually
move to Ella.
Jack said I wanted to talk about as well. Kratz is in that position that he can ask, what are you willing to do for me? And what am I going to get out of this? So he told this particular lady by saying, I'll take you to an autopsy if you wear a short skirt, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So it's always a
Right.
contractual relationship. It's
Oh,
nothing.
yes.
It's a
Yes.
contractual. What do I get out of this?
100% correct. And there was, if you notice, there was nothing long term. It was a short term fix. That's all it was. It was a short term fix to basically say, hey, look, I can attract any woman I want. In fact, I could even get them to come to an autopsy. You're thinking to yourself, what the hell? You know what I mean? It's hard enough to get somebody to go to a beautiful restaurant, lovely food, ambient atmosphere, whatever. Go to a film, see a movie. And Mr. Kratz wanted to take this lady to an autopsy. What the hell, Alice?
So he can brag about it in front of
Oh yes,
the mortician.
that's correct, and also his other male colleagues for
Mhm.
sure. Alice, do you have a comment?
Yeah, no, it's actually John William Falk Junior, who's joined us in chat. He was in
Welcome.
earlier. He says, "Are there no black folks in Wisconsin? I haven't seen any, not even a cop or a lawyer or defendant and ma'am or involving this case."
Yep, I don't know how to answer that.
They're
Yeah.
probably all in prison.
That's a
Yeah.
possibility.
I
Yeah.
As a
think
matter of
the
fact, Sunshine Christina actually mentioned that quite a few months
how
ago.
disproportionate,
How
yeah, their
disproportionate
jails are.
is, yeah, she did.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. I
Correct.
think
Correct.
they're smart not to live in that state.
No, that's correct. All right, guys, let's continue. Oh, sorry, Susan, did you have an additional comment? All good? All good?
All good, Doc.
Awesome. Okay, Neverly, let's continue reading.
Okay.
Let's see if we can finish this podcast.
Bored in court, Kratz kept messaging her. In her letter, she wrote to Governor James Doyle. King added, if I didn't answer his text immediately, he would become insecure and question why I hadn't responded and would attack me or my character. He would remind me of who he was, how he had prosecuted the biggest case around here, and what a prize he was. After a few days of contact, I finally told him not to contact me anymore. He complied.
Lucky.
Yeah, she dodged a bullet, and good for her for saying something like that. And just this comment, bored in court. So, are you texting me because you're bored or because you're bored in court and you're boasting again, saying that what a hotshot you are?
Yep.
So, it has nothing to do with her. It's all about him.
Correct. And we welcome Ronica Clack. Thank you very much for joining the chat. Fantastic. Okay, let's go for it, Neverly.
Other women who were victims of Kratz were downright terrified he might come back and harm them if their names were publicized by the Wisconsin DOJ. They agreed to be interviewed by police investigators only on the condition their identities remained a secret in any official criminal investigation files.
Yeah.
One such woman.
Yeah, I think that's the actual weakness. People are terrified to come forward, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about a district attorney here, and I'm sure for women, for the victims to come forward, it would not have been an easy thing for them to do, not at all.
One such woman was victimized by Kratz in 1999. Evidence that Kratz's creepy and dangerous behavior was going on long before he got involved in prosecuting Avery. One woman was involved in a domestic dispute with her husband in 1999. The confidential informant suffered a black eye and a bump on her head from her abusive husband. Kratz was the prosecuting attorney on her husband's case. The confidential informant indicated that shortly after the meetings with Kratz would email the confidential informant with comments such as, "A girl like you wouldn't be attracted to a guy like me, bald and overweight."
At least he told the truth, right?
Yes.
At least he told the truth.
Yeah. But that's fishing for pity.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Oh, no,
Yes.
you're not. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
The emails turned into phone calls initiated by Kratz. The confidential informant indicated on one occasion Kratz came over to the CI's house with the CI's approval, and that the CI and Kratz sat on the couch. The CI indicated that Kratz put his hand under the CI's skirt and he caressed the CI. The CI also indicated that Kratz had not removed any of his clothing. While the CI and Kratz were seated on the couch, Kratz's girlfriend or fiancée called, and the CI learned that it was the girlfriend's or fiancée's birthday. The CI believes that Kratz forgot. Once Kratz got off the phone with the girlfriend or fiancée, Kratz called a florist to have flowers sent to his girlfriend or fiancée. The CI indicated that upon Kratz leaving the CI's residence, Kratz got stuck in the snow in the CI's driveway and had to be pulled out by a neighbor.
I don't know what you guys think, but that was
Cringe.
I agree with just Rhonda. I'm chucking up over here. I mean, he's got no moral compass. How in the hell can he have a fiance, or he was married? I'm not sure at the time. Forget that he forgot to buy her flowers and is doing this inappropriate activity with another woman. He's got no brakes. He's got no filter. Well, yes, correct, but it didn't stop him, guys. Does anyone have any comments? We're all good, or we're all in a state of shock?
It's like, what do you say? It's a state of shock. Yeah. The woman also gained insight into Kratz's dark mind. Very early in the conversations or emails with Kratz made it very clear that he liked women to be submissive. Here we go again. Kratz would call the CI at work, and the CI was not allowed to say anything, and that was part of the game. The CI indicated women weren't allowed to say anything or make any noise. The CI just had to listen to his sexual scenarios on the phone. Kratz had 4 or 5 sexual scenarios, and that he would request the CI choose one of the scenarios that the CI would like to be done to CI. Kratz also offered to send the CI to Chicago to learn how to be submissive. What?
What the?
There's a school for that?
There's a school. Yeah, Mr. Kratz's school. This is ridiculous.
That's so creepy.
Fucking sick.
I mean, this is hardcore. This is hardcore madness, right? This is a hardcore madness.
Kratz's contact with this woman occurred like Kratz was in the midst of a full-blown criminal prosecution of the woman's husband for domestic abuse. Wow. So this woman was the victim again, right?
Victim, correct. And Kratz was prosecuting her husband.
While he was doing all of this, while he had his girlfriend or a fiancée.
Correct.
And he was going to send her to school.
Correct, to be submissive.
Kratz also asked if the CI liked to be videotaped or if they could be watched by someone else. Kratz indicated this would only be for his private viewing. Kratz indicated Kratz had a private room at his house and that no one went into the room except Kratz. The CI was led to believe by Kratz that Kratz had other videotapes of himself or other females being involved in sexual activity. We're talking about this is not normal play.
No.
This is beyond this.
100% correct. Jack 61.
Well, that just tells us he's got a library of tapes that he goes back and enjoys the moment again. We have serial killers that think on the same wavelength here.
Yep, 100% correct. 100% correct.
It's funny because serial killer is what just popped into my mind.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's highly inappropriate and quite frankly disgusting as well. So he obviously must have videotaped various sexual scenarios without getting permission, right? So if he had a private room, he probably had cameras. This is like the film Sex, Lies, and Videotape, right?
That's exactly right,
And
Doc.
Darkside in the chat said, sounds like blackmail tapes too.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
The woman told Wisconsin special agents that her lawyer had told her up front that Calumet County had a reputation for usually awarding custody of minor children to the father, not the mother.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, this is another level that they have to think about and weigh their options and actions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, Kratz was actually boasting that even though he went through a nasty divorce, that he got the custody of his son, not his ex-wife, the mother of the child, which tells me that he does not respect mothers and that role that they play in a child's life, that he wanted to win.
Correct. But do you see the double-edged sword here, right? When he was trying these things on the women, a lot of them were saying, bugger off, I'm not interested. But some of them obviously started to entertain him by engaging in these scenarios. So in Kratz's mind, he was saying, see, they are nasty. They're prepared to do such and such. I have zero respect for them. Just Rhonda.
The word that I haven't heard anybody say yet that is descriptive besides psychopath is misogynist. He is like, I'm sure that if you look up the word misogynist or misogyny in the dictionary, you're going to see a picture of someone like Ken Kratz, because that's when you put all of his behaviors towards women into a pot and stir it all up, he is the epitome of a misogynist.
That's right.
And it's just, a psychopathic misogynist is very, very dangerous.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Also sadistic when you think about it. I'm sorry, Dr. Silkman, but it's also sadistic because he knows that he's got power over them due to the fact that they're victims. It's another, okay, don't get us wrong, we're all adults and whatever floats your boat, go do it. But this is not the case of a relationship. This is a case of taking advantage, exploitation of somebody's vulnerability.
That's a good word.
That's a huge difference.
Correct. Exploitation of vulnerable people as well. And you'll see that he was able to potentially influence the outcome of a trial. I remember how he wanted to downgrade one of the charges from assault to a minor misdemeanor. Yeah, which meant that the abuser can simply walk out of prison, pay a fine, and that's it. Do it all over again. It's shocking. Susan, do you have a comment?
I'll say it again. Kratz.
You broke up there.
Susan, you're cutting out. I can't even hear what you're saying.
You broke up, unfortunately. But yeah, I think we understand what you were going to say. Okay, Neverly, let's continue. Let's see if we can finish this podcast.
Sure. The CI reiterated that the only reason the CI agreed to engaging in the phone conversations and emails, along with one sexual contact with Kratz, was because Kratz was prosecuting the CI's husband, and the CI was led to believe that Kratz could influence the decision over the custody of the CI's children.
And he made that known, right? He made that known. So hence, in effect, the poor victim had almost no choice, right? You either did what Mr. Kratz said, or you face the consequences. That's a shocking no-win situation. Alice, do you have any comments?
Motherfucker. That's what he is. He is. It's just hard to believe the way he stood up in that court and spoke about Teresa.
Yes.
Being a young woman and a real person and everything like that. You would think, if you didn't know any better, you would think, you know, he had respect for women in some sense. But then when you get to this, you just see that, as Rhonda says, the misogyny, the what's the word I'm looking for? Misogynistic, the narcissistic tendencies that he's got.
Yes.
That he's all right about putting this young woman through all this shit, but yet he'll stand in a courtroom. And as you say, Doc, he didn't have any respect for that woman that was lying on that morgue table when he's asking this if she wants to go and watch this woman being cut up into pieces and to wear a pair of high heels. You know, I mean, there's all right having your fetishes in your own bedroom and everything like that, if you like your woman in suspenders and a pair of high heels and everything like that, that's fair enough. But no doing something like that. And this man seriously needs to get some help. And I do not understand why Leah, if that's her name, if she's still with him, is still there. Unless she is, as you say, unless she's into the kinky stuff as well, you know.
So.
But yeah, she must be, Doc, if she's still with him, because for somebody to be still with a man who has been caught doing this in a power of authority against a young woman whose kids might have got taken off her, you know, is absolutely disgusting, in my opinion. It really is.
Correct. But the thing, thank you very much, Alice. But the thing is, and we've seen it, Mr. Kratz is a repeat offender, right? He almost got burnt to toast with Stephanie Van Grohl. He never learned his lesson. He was doing this prior. The important thing here, guys, is that Mr. Kratz was doing this prior to the Stephen Avery trial and Brendan Dassey trial. And he was doing this, and it ramped up after the trials. So, hey, he had this type of behavior way before he got involved in Stephen Avery's trial. So that means that this was part of his personality, part of his character, part of his trait. And he was using the women as a means to an end, right? And that's why I put that passage up that we read from the trial. On the one hand, he's showing sympathy, respect, and like I said, remember Jack 61, what I said years ago? Oh my God, Mr. Kratz is acting like her father. He's acting like a father figure who's lost a child and as showing the remorse. Stephen Avery's a monster, and yet showed no respect to these other victims of crime, living or dead. Living or dead. And you can't get any lower than that. Jack 61.
Yeah, it's like you can see it, the flipping of a switch about how he, in these other scenarios, the complete objectifying of these various women that he went after and how he treated them. Then he walks into court, and this hypocrite, he says, Susan read the passage of how
Yes.
it's so hypocritical. It's just sickening to me. My brain my brain doesn't work like that at all. Won't go through.
No, correct, 100%. It's something I could never ever think of or even initiate or do. It truly is beyond words. But remember, guys, I think, and I don't know if you agree with me, but I think that his victims is just the tip of the iceberg.
I completely agree.
You can imagine how many there are. Like, it was a bit like the Epstein case, right? All the victims came out. There were lots of them. And I'll tell you what, I could only imagine who he had targeted, who Ken Kratz had targeted over a long period of time. Okay, Neverly, let's continue.
Sure. About 5 months later, the woman had moved away when she got a phone call at work. The CI was surprised that Kratz had tracked the CI down. Kratz asked if the CI was married or seeing someone. Kratz indicated that he had relatives in the area where the CI was presently living.
Oh my God. That's, guys, I don't know about you, but that is stalking behavior.
And also intimidation.
100% correct.
The two special agents from the DIA who interviewed the woman made the following observations in their summations of her interview. On several occasions, the CI cried and indicated that the CI had been second-guessing the CI's self for a long time regarding the CI not reporting the conduct of Kratz back when it happened. The CI indicated that the only reason the CI came forward at this time was to let Van Grol know that Van Grol wasn't alone and that Kratz had conducted this type of behavior with other females.
Right.
So look how damaging this is on a person's psyche.
100%
You're starting to think that you're fucking crazy.
That's correct. So he was gaslighting his victims. He was trying to turn the right, guys. He was trying to turn the table on the victims, and he was doing victim blaming and victim shaming. Jack 61.
And it's already been pointed out. I think it really highlights his stalking behavior that we don't see a huge amount of, but it's right there. It's in black and white right here.
Correct. And it also, to me, demonstrates a very long, persistent history and behavior, right? This is not a 5-minute job. This has been happening for a long period of time. And it makes you now wonder what effect he had during both Stephen and Brendan's trials, and furthermore, other cases that he tried as well, right? And remember the scathing report that Professor Gershman gave of Mr. Kratz, his performance. He gave him an F-, right? You now have to start looking at everything he did. This is a shocker. Neverly.
Yes. In 1998 or early 1999, Menasha resident Connie Palm ran a personal ad in the Appleton Post-Crescent newspaper. She was in luck, bad luck. The male suitor who responded to her singles ad happened to be Kratz. During a handful of introductory phone calls, Kratz made it a point to make sure she knew she was conversing with the district attorney of Calumet County himself. Palm and Kratz met for coffee at Burger King in Kaukauna in 1998 or early 1999. After having coffee, Kratz said he would show Palm where he worked, and they left Burger King together in Kratz's car. But first, Kratz wanted to take her by his house so he could change. Nice. Kratz talked to her about his past marriages and the details of the demise of his second marriage. He then went into a diatribe of dirty talk, going into detail about what he wanted in a wife or girlfriend sexually and about past experiences he had with numerous women.
Oh, God.
How attractive. After visiting Kratz's house for an hour, they drove towards the government municipal building in the area of Darboy and Sherwood. While they were parked near the municipal building, Kratz touched the back of Palm's hair. Palm said she backed away from his touch and he stopped touching her. Kratz told Palm again that he works with victims and he understands.
Oh, my God.
Blah.
Gaslighting.
Eventually, Kratz drove the woman back to the Burger King so she could retrieve her car. Palm said that during the date, Kratz told her a couple of times not to talk to Harbor House, domestic violence shelter where she went for services and support, about him and what he was telling her. When he was talking about the personal things that he prefers and about meeting women in hotels. So is Palm one of the victims as well?
Yes, yes.
But they just happened to meet through an ad.
Yes.
So they met through an ad and she happens to be a victim of domestic violence. So that's why she was going to this Harbor House, which is a domestic violence shelter. Okay.
Correct.
Jesus. Palm stated that she felt almost as if Kratz were confessing to her about what he did with other women and wanting her to okay his actions. Palm said that Kratz talked about a lot of things during their date, but she only wrote in her letters the details that she could truly remember. Palm stated that during the date, she was only thinking about how fast she could get home. Smart.
Yep.
Kratz made the mistake of opening up too much about his deviant side. She said he told her he met women on the internet, they talked about what they expected, and they agreed to meet at a hotel. Kratz told Palm he did not tell these women his real name or what he did for a living, and he met them in hotels out of town. Kratz also told Palm that he looked at pornography and he felt that it was an addiction because he stayed up until the early morning watching it. Yep, it's an addiction. On September 22, 2010, Palm sent a letter to Wisconsin Governor Jim Doyle relaying some of her humiliating experiences with Kratz to the governor. Once we arrived at his home, he offered to give me a tour and made emphasis upon showing his bedroom where he slept. I then sat down in the living room to wait for him to change clothing, which he did. He sat down in the living room and began another conversation where he shared information about past marriages. I found he had been married twice then. He shared intimate details about why those marriages ended. Then he went into details of the second marriage and he was very explicit. He said they had done a threesome with their neighbor guy down the road and his wife felt that the neighbor had more to offer to her.
Oh, my God. Does anyone want to make a comment about this? Why would you say that to someone that you're trying to date? Jack 61.
You know, he's
What
talking about
the
it.
hell?
Well, it's almost again like a pity thing. I'm not going to say it. It's so. I'm not going to say it. It's just so bad. This is terrible. It is so terrible.
Yeah, but what about his wife, his ex-wife, who made the comment that she thought the neighbor had more to offer?
I
How
know.
humiliating would
It
that
is.
be?
It's terrible. That's what I'm saying. Why would you
To
talk about that?
me,
Yeah, go ahead there.
sorry, to me, first of all, we get a one-sided story, and this is from these women, right? I just wonder how much did he ask about their life, their preferences, their hobbies or whatnot. Seems like he loves to talk about himself, which is also typical of narcissists, right? The attention is just for him. This is me, this is my life, blah, 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 numerous women. A confident man does not talk about that. Do we agree on that?
Yes, a gentleman never would discuss shit like this.
No, ever.
These are insecurities. And also, this is my personal take out of all of this, is almost like this confession that he does, about his dark side, the marriages, failed marriages, and everything else, is so he could relieve his soul and so he could continue to do the same thing over and over again. Does that make sense?
Yes, correct. He wanted justification. He wanted the women to say, "Oh, don't worry, they're lovely. Everything's okay. You were just misunderstood. Don't worry, keep on doing it."
Yeah.
He wanted,
she didn't understand you. Yeah.
He wanted justification to continue doing what he was doing, right? So in essence, what his inner soul was doing, please catch me, please stop me. How many serial killers have said that, guys? Catch me if you can. Catch me if you can. And Mr. Kratz was openly doing this for a long period of time. And he knew, because how many times did he tell women, I'm fat, I'm bold, I'm cringy, I've got a high-pitched voice, no one's going to like me. And what did he use to get women, to get this attention? He used his position as a district attorney to lure the women, correct? And he had the gall to stand up in court and say, Mr. Kratz, Stephen Avery lured Teresa Hallbach, lured her. And yet, you know why it was so easy for him to say those words?
Because that's
he was a fucking master at luring women.
That's
Jack
right.
61.
That's right. This a lot of the shit that's in the Stevens trial and Brendan to boot is brought out of his playbook. This came from his mind. Think about that press conference. I mean, what little bit we've got. I wish we had the whole thing about what he was saying in the content, and he had absolutely no proof, but he talked like it was the truth.
Correct. If you take away the murder, he was giving an actual sexual fantasy of his.
That's right. That's right.
That's exactly what he did. Because what does Mr. Kratz love doing? Domineering and tying women up and having a secret room. That's exactly what he said in the March 2nd press conference, guys. Right? He was reliving his own sexual fantasy, for God's sake. All right, let's continue, guys.
You have probably heard about my dark side, Kratz told Palm. He shared details about many past experiences and said that he met a lot of women on the internet, then would meet them at hotels out of town, of course, and he did not give them his real name or profession. He gave specifics about liaisons, going into great detail about one woman in particular who wanted him so bad and was so turned on that she was dripping on the bed. He said this several times and would not get off that particular sentence or woman.
Oh, look what he said.
Boasting. Do I make you nervous?
Do I make you nervous?
He went on to share further details and that he does different things with the women, like role-playing, even using a term I had heard before but can't remember now. But he explained in great detail that it involves hurting each other physically, but there is a common word agreed upon ahead of time, like Rumpelstiltskin, and one partner says the activity is to stop. So basically, they had a safe word. That's what they were talking about. This is S&M.
Yes, S&M. And what did bloody Mr. Kratz emphasize in the trial? The bloody the handcuffs and leg irons.
Mm-hmm.
And you can
And I
imagine
remember
Mr.
when they asked Jody.
Yes,
That's right.
yes, yes. You can. Mr. Kratz is looking at him, going, "Yeah, I've got about 5 or 6 of those at least." And remember the sex toys, right? That they found in not only Stephen Avery's trailer, but in Teresa's place as well.
That's right.
61.
That's exactly. I was going to say that. You nailed it.
Yep. Mr. Kratz is taking a running inventory, for God's sake. Susan.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, isn't it interesting when Kratz goes on all these talk shows and talks about his texting? None of this stuff is ever brought up by the interviewer, and this information was out there.
Correct. And we've all seen a ton of interviews that Mr. Kratz does, and all of us want to smash our iPads and our TVs because the guy is lying out of his mouth. He is lying, and he's not telling the interviewer half the shit that he does. Susan.
Yeah. If this had happened after the Me Too movement, it'd be a whole different story.
He would be dead. He would be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd be in jail.
Yes, he would. Yes, he would. Jack 61. Thank you, Susan. Jack 61.
Yeah, I have to wonder, and I guess we'll always wonder because we'll never get an answer to my comment I'm going to make. But I have to wonder how much of this behavior I'm going to put a connotation on it, but this behavior, I wonder how much those in authority within the state of Wisconsin knew about him, but and him getting picked as a special prosecutor and being the
yes
God.
Oh, correct. 100% correct. But you see, if Mr. Kratz is a very what can I say? He's a narcissist, and he has the gift of the gab. It's part of a boys' club. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Hey, yeah, everything's okay. Then people like that get promoted instead of. And here's the main problem. Here's my main issue. Where are the red flags? Where are the red flags?
There should have been fireworks going off every time he showed up because of these behaviors.
100%. Where are the checkers? The checks and balances saying, hey, wait a minute, there's something not right here, right? Scratch on the surface and uncover all the damage that's been going on for a long period of time. Where are the checks and balances? No one obviously had confronted him to say, look, I've heard all these rumors. What's going on here? Until Stephanie Van Grol put in an official complaint and Kratz had nowhere to go. Neverly.
Well, they all knew that he was a pig, that he has a history and that he's inappropriate and everything else. They all knew that because imagine all the conferences, all the meetings, all the bullshit that goes on. You know what I mean? And there's Kratz drinking and having fun with women. They all knew that that's his personality. That's what he does. But they didn't do anything about it until
they used it.
Stephanie. Yes, they totally used it. And they turned a blind eye to a certain point until there was an official complaint. And just like everything else, law changes when there's enough complaints about something like that.
Correct.
Right? Even at work, let's say you have a problem and you have a cluster of the same problem, you're going to have to do something about it because that's what's done. If it's a one occurrence here and there, well, that's life. Things happen. Nobody's perfect. Nothing's perfect. But if there's a cluster, a trend, then you investigate and then you say from now on, we're going to prevent this, for the future. We're going to change the law or the rule. And this is exactly what was happening over there until Stephanie turned in an official complaint.
But
and they had to look into it.
But guys, this is the main problem, and I think we discussed it in the previous episode. He has already done the damage. Mr. Kratz has done the damage to many women over a long period of time. Imagine his very first victim was Stephanie Van Grohl, and she came forward in the 90s, the early 90s, and put a stop to Mr. Kratz's career then and then, right? Imagine. So my point is, often in cases like this, the perpetrator has done the same type of thing for 20, 30 years and left a trail of destruction. By the time they get that individual and put him in prison or fine him or whatever, it's almost too late. Do you know what I'm trying to say, guys? It's almost too bloody late. You know, that's a tragedy.
And what happens usually when they get caught, they apologize, they're sorry, they're this and that, and they're only sorry because they got caught.
Because I got caught, correct.
And it's not a guarantee that they're going to stop that behavior.
No. Well, we've just seen it here. You would have thought Mr. Kratz would have learned his lesson with Stephanie Van Grohl. He never did. He kept on going. He never learned his lesson. All right, let's keep going, guys.
Okay. In Palm's letter to the governor, she revealed that over the years, it became common knowledge among the powerful people who were movers and shakers around Calumet County that Kratz's behavior were to be tolerated. As the years went on and I became employed with Harbor House domestic abuse programs in June 2002 and got to know other professionals, I learned of the prevalence of knowledge of Ken Kratz's reputation, rumors, and what I felt was a sick collective social tolerance, oblivion to look at the other way of this type of behavior from a man who holds a highly regarded public office.
Correct. Huge problem. Huge problem.
Huge. But there was one thing Kratz kept saying over and over during his one and only creepy date with the Menasha woman he met at Burger King. I am uninhibited. I'm uninhibited. He went on to say that he would pay to take me to a spa and be pampered all day to get a manicure, pedicure, get my hair done, and a bikini wax, and he would tell the girls at the salon what he would like done to me down there. He asked me a couple of times to share my fantasies with him, and I would not. I have to wonder if putting pictures of Ken in the newspaper in various poses, full body, side view of face, front view, or in other attire like jeans, pictures of him over the years with dates or years attached that he served as a DA and assistant DA, and aged or changed in appearance might trigger the memory of other women throughout the state of Wisconsin and nearby states. I have to think there are many women out there affected by him.
Yes, and notice what Mr. Kratz said. Often he wouldn't say his real name and he wouldn't say his profession.
Yes.
So this is your classic predatory behavior. So Lord knows how many total victims that they are out there. Ones which have got no idea who he is or what he did.
So this is smart thinking on this on what's her name? Palm? Yeah.
Correct.
That if she puts different pictures of him that women would recognize him. Yet remember, guys, we read this. We read the emails when Kratz was crying like a little bitch to the OLR. But this is the first time. I thought that this was, part of my decorum, professional decorum, that, to flirt with women or whatever. But, I've been a district attorney and I gave 25 years to the state of Wisconsin. So this, one indiscretion should not kind of toppled the scales. He lied
Correct.
to them straight face.
Correct. He basically wanted. What did I say before? It's easier to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. That's exactly
Yes.
what he did. Jack 61. Thank you, Neverly. Jack 61.
Sorry, I didn't mean to unmute. I hit that by mistake.
Okay. All right, guys. Let's continue. We're nearly done.
By November 2010, the Wisconsin Department of Justice had seized Kratz's office computer. For the line reading criminal offense, the report indicated misconduct in public office. On the line marked suspect, the name listed was Kenneth Kratz. 10 different women were listed in the documents as complainants.
Yeah, you could probably add a couple of zeros behind that one as probably the true number for sure.
The DCI report indicated Kratz used the following screen names: Ex-Boy-Toy1, Appleton ATTY or attorney, and Applenati. The following search terms were sought: bondage, dominant, submissive, role-playing.
Now
Formal
let's get let's get one thing straight. Right? This is something that has really bugged me, right? Isn't it interesting that when the Dassey computer was searched, what did they say? What did Mr. Kratz say? What did Tom Fassbender say, Jack 61? Nothing of significance was found. Right?
Yeah,
That's right.
normal.
Nothing relevant. It doesn't matter. There wasn't shit.
Yeah.
Wasn't shit on there, man.
Now, compared to what Kratz was searching, it probably was trivial. And look at Mr. Kratz. What his search terms were, some of his search terms were bondage, dominant, submissive, role playing.
You know, I have to wonder.
Which confirm.
I just have to wonder if Bailey had a final CD report on Ken Kratz's computer.
Yeah, and Tom Fassbender's probably got it in his house, in his drawer somewhere.
Probably.
So these searches, bondage, dominant, submissive, and role-playing, actually confirms everything that these victims that came through said.
It corroborates. Just not to stir up just Rhonda, but are you able to say that word? What did it do? Just Rhonda's going to hit me, I know.
Corroborated.
Corroborate.
Corroborate. Correct. You're correct, Neverly. Yeah, what he was searching is exactly what the women had stated in their reports. Susan, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm just curious how many women watching Making a Murderer suddenly realize that that's the guy.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
Yeah, that's 100% correct.
A lot in the Chicago area, I'm guessing.
I bet it was dozens or more. I bet on it.
I bet it was too.
Yep, that's
get them to file suit.
Yes, that's what you need. You need a class action suit. Everyone get together. You really go after him and you put him in prison. Boom. End of story.
He needs to be there.
Yes, he does. All right. Sorry, Jack 61. Did you have a comment?
No. I'm good.
All right, Neverly, let's go for it.
Former Calumet County DA Ken Kratz is accused of sending inappropriate text and email messages to women, including victims in an active cases he was working on. Currently looking for a preview of text documents and possibly internet dating sites and pornography if excessive, the report stated. But in the end, criminal charges of misconduct in public office were never filed against Kratz by the Wisconsin DCI.
Absolutely shocking. You got a
Shocking.
slap on the wrist. See you later. And let me tell you right now, if any of you guys and me, anyone, we did any of this, half this stuff, we would be in prison. But Mr. Kratz got a slap on the wrist, and nothing of consequence happened to him. Susan.
I'm curious if anyone thinks that that had to do with the Stephen Avery case,
Mm-hmm.
giving him a pass.
Well, listen, we already know you guys are reading the depositions, right? And so he put to, according to the state, according to the judge, he put the most evil man, the worst man that's ever come into the court, into his courthouse away for life. So maybe they gave him a favor. They gave him a free pass. Pat on the back. Well done. Get out of here. Susan.
What if had they prosecuted Kratz, it would have brought up the Avery case into the light all once again.
Probably other cases too, Susan.
Yeah. Yeah, but especially Avery. You know, they tried so hard to get him and keep him there, and you know, and bringing all that up with just the DOJ, the BCI, all of them.
100% correct. 100% correct. Yeah. It would have been their worst nightmare had Kratz gone to prison. Could you imagine? Could you imagine Kathleen Zellner, right? She already got a scathing report from Gershman, a law professor, who completely lambasted Mr. Kratz. Could you imagine if he actually went to prison? Jack 61.
Yeah, I think it would have been a real disaster for not only these various law enforcement agencies, specifically Calumet, Manitowoc, Wisconsin State Troopers, but then you have to climb the ladder over to the lawyers, to the AAG's office. It would have been a disaster for them.
Now, Travis made the comment. So this conspiracy goes to the governor and the attorney general. Is that the argument? Lord knows.
Absolutely, yes, Travis.
Lord,
yes.
We need to get Travis on one of our podcasts. Well, look, guys.
Yeah.
I've unfortunately got to go soon because I'm having some medical treatment done. But before I go, if you Jack 61 put the picture up here of Mr. Kratz. Look, hey, isn't it incredible? The DA finally made it to the crime scene, right, guys? And it's entitled Kenny the Prize Kratz, the sexting, pill popping, perverted prosecutor. Now, what is interesting here? If you want to get a lot more information, I think Jack 61 mentioned about convoluted brine. If you go to georgezipra.blogspot.com, you'll see now. Travis said here, that's total bullshit. Now, which part? Which part, Travis? You don't like Mr. Kratz's picture, or what? There's a lot more information about the sexting scandal on these sites over here, right? So, guys, unfortunately, I've got to leave soon. But before I go, let's go around the table. Again, guys, thank you so much for staying with us in chat. This has been very, very difficult, and I'm glad that we've finally finished this chapter. But let's quickly go around the table and tell us how you thought the podcast went and how things are coming along. Alice.
Well, I mean, the podcast was great, Doc. I mean, the podcasts always are great. It's just the subject matter that is vile and awful. And the person that we're speaking about is vile, awful, disgusting. he shouldn't be allowed near women, period, in my opinion. And for any woman out there, because we don't know whether he's single, whether he's still married, or what, but like Susan, I don't do dating apps or anything like that, but to any woman that's out there in the vicinity of California or Carolina or wherever it is he's supposed to have ended up, whichever way it is, and whether it's swipe left to do no, then so swipe left all the time. It's left, 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 left. That's it, period. Because you stay away from that man, because you'll never get anywhere with somebody like that. He's just vile, Doc. And I'm trying to keep it pleasant, but I have all these sweary words running round in my head right now. So.
Yes, correct. Thank you very much, Alice. Very much appreciated. Jack 61, how things coming along?
Doing good, Doc. Continuing on with, I thought the podcast was difficult, but we really haven't shied away from, other aspects of the case that are really difficult to deal with. Brendan, the treatment of Jody, no matter how that, it turned out later in what she did. Jody's got her own problems, but she was treated like absolute shit throughout.
Yes.
And that started really the day, like November 6th. She was isolated.
Yes.
So, given this is just what we know. I would imagine that there's a whole, stack of the we don't know of the actions and things that he did from God back probably in the 80s. For this guy to have been involved in this case and its importance to the state of Wisconsin, damn. Just damn.
You have to admit, it really does your head in.
It does.
It really, how someone of his ilk and character is prosecuting others on crimes that he was committing himself.
That's right.
And he expected nothing but a slap on the wrist and, hey, look, I'm really, really sorry. I keep this private, put it under the carpet and everything is good. But he couldn't help himself when it came to Stephen and Brendan, right? It's not good. It's not a good look, Jack 61.
Okay. And you said it earlier, Doc, anybody that had done what he had done would be in jail. They'd be in prison. They'd have been prosecuted. No question about it.
No question. And that also goes for females as well who do the same thing. We've had plenty of teachers, lawyers, doctors who've transgressed and then ended up in prison. So it's not only a male per se issue.
Right.
Women do it too, right? And that's the sad part about it. Women who are meant to be looking after certain people take advantage of them. So it happens both ways, right? Like I said, people in position of power, authority, trust, your carer is abusing you. That puts a bad mark on everyone.
Last thing I got, then I'll pass the baton. I wish we had time to play some of the Foley and Kratz interview, but I don't think we have time. We went pretty long today, but it is available on the Convoluted Brown website if anybody wants to listen to it again. It is so telling of this guy's character and personality because he goes completely apeshit, completely. So I would invite everyone to listen to that. And then please, for those that are interested in the depositions, the 2005 civil suit, we'll be continuing on with that reading with Don Bells, BELZ, tomorrow on the open mic. Same time as today, 5 Central. So hopefully we can get those that are interested to come and join and be a part of the conversation. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Jessica 61. And speaking of that interview, right, with Foley, there's one that's even better than that. And it's super. I wish we could play it. It's when, I forgot the name of the lady. You may have seen it. It's when the comedian.
Jenna.
It's when
Jenna something. I can't remember her last name.
Yeah, it's where the comedian, that lady, is. I don't know. I reckon she did it deliberately. She was openly flirting with him. Have a listen and keep your eyes on Kratz's face. I even put a comment in her chat, and my comment was, he's already got you in 25 sexual positions and dreaming of all these fantasy scenarios, right, Jack 61?
That's right.
By the time you could tell he was salivating. and I said to her, I said, I hope you had security guards, a can of mace, and a baton just to beat the hell out of him. It's the most shocking, disgusting thing you could ever see, right? And I know that the comedian was egging him on, just to get his true reaction. Mr. Kratz, right, Jack 61, could not help himself.
He
was like a kid in a candy store.
and we're beating on him pretty bad. No one's perfect. I think everyone gets that. And from a non-hypocritical standpoint, none of us are angels. But at the same time, you think about everything that he did, under the radar, and then all this shit that he said at trial against Stephen and Brendan and other people as well. So it's just disgusting.
Correct. And at the end of the day, guys, the biggest person against Mr. Kratz is Mr. Kratz. The guy that imploded and destroyed himself was not from the influence of others, by himself. And even Kratz knows that. All right. Thank you very much, Jack 61. I don't recall. How about yourself?
Oh, it was definitely interesting, but disgusting, shocking, horrifying that he behaved like that. And then, act like the righteous one when he was prosecuting Stephen. But other than that, I'm helping with the podcast with Rhonda, getting ready for the next accuser. So that's what I'm up to.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I don't recall. Next, we have Susan. How are things?
I'm not quite sure my internet is working. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'll just say it again. One sick fuck. I've had enough. We're done, right, with this chapter?
We're done. We're done.
Yay.
We're done.
Yay.
I can't. I'm seeing 2 therapists at the moment. No more. Thank you so much. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Doc.
Next, we have just Rhonda.
Well, I second what Susan said. I've had enough. Like I seriously struggled to get through this. It's scary. It scares me. We have no idea what he's out there doing free among the public, and it is disturbing to listen to. So I'm glad if we're done with him. I'm glad, because it was just
done.
about too much. So
Yep. We're done.
yeah, and
You know what?
catch my next podcast on Thursday, because we're going to be discussing Adara Gardner, whose minute amount of DNA that was almost so small it was nearly inconclusive to his case. We're going to start discussing her on Thursday.
Did you mention DNA? Did you mention DNA?
I mentioned DNA. I do that on purpose whenever you're around, So
I try my very best to get there. Look, I'll tell you what.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. The DNA is coming so much into play now. It's a very, very hot topic. It really, really is, especially amongst these big criminal trials. I'm looking forward to the what's his name? Kohlberger, Brian
Kohlberger, yeah.
and
That's
also
gonna be interesting.
the Anna Walsh case, and also
Yeah.
the Alex Murdoch trial that's happening now.
Yeah.
There was a lot of DNA stuff there too. So yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
it's a big gig. So, but yeah, so
Yeah,
just if you can make it Thursday, everybody in chat, and come and listen. It's going to be interesting.
it
Thanks,
is.
Doc.
And thank you. And if I could just toot my own horn for a little bit, I've been invited to do a podcast. Her name is, I think, Claire S. Bear, I think. She's got her own YouTube channel, and she's a
Oh yeah,
supporter of.
Claire Bear.
Yeah,
She's
she's
our
invited
friend.
me to. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. She's invited me to do a discussion on DNA,
On Monday.
Very
forensic.
nice.
Is that on
It,
Monday?
well, it's my Tuesday. I think it's her Monday because she's
Right.
in New Jersey, I think it is. So we're just tying up the details there, and it should be very interesting because I think she'll be discussing about the forensics and also on the Alex Murdoch trial as well. So it'll be
Oh, that's brilliant, Doc. Well, see, I've been watching the Alex Murdoch trial, and I've been doing it through Claire's channel.
fantastic.
Yeah, I'm watching it through Claire's channel, and for the last few days, she's been teasing her audience, saying that she's got something special coming up on Monday, and it's all about the forensics, and that's how she's putting it across. It's like, yes, I was actually wondering if it was maybe you that she was talking about. Because she was
Oh,
saying, he does a lot on another case, and I was like, I wonder if that might be your Doc.
well, I'm truly honored. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure it'll just be a casual chat, but yeah, fantastic.
She's lovely, Doc. She is. She's absolutely lovely, and she's giggly, and she's she's up for a laugh and things like that as well. I mean, it will be a good one for you, definitely.
It'll be good fun. It'll be good because I mean, this was a tough series of podcasts to do. I'd rather talk about science and MVAC and DNA and stuff like that all day. It's it's a joy, but Mr. Kratz, is like, what the hell? But I'm glad that we did it. So I'm doing. If everything goes well, it'll be next week. My Tuesday in America, it'll be your Monday. So I think she'll put out notification as well. So I think that's fantastic. It's fantastic for us, fantastic for her, great publicity for Foul Play and what we do, the hard work that we do. And it'd be awesome. Be awesome. Thank you so much. And last, we have a Neverly. Neverly, how about yourself?
Wow, Dr. Silkman, this was these last two chapters were really, podcasts were really taxing on everybody's psyche. It had to be done, and I'm glad it's done, and I'm glad it's done. So, on the happier note, I'm so excited for you and for Foul Play and for Claire. I do follow her as well. As Alice said, she's really easy to talk to. So once you get the link, maybe we should advertise it because, we're going to swarm her channel and be there for you and for her. How exciting!
Yeah, thank you very much.
How exciting!
You know how it goes, right? I think Jeff Jones has got a podcast as well. Pretty well close. I think I'm not sure, Jack 61, whether his podcast is before ours or the one that I'm about to do. So I try and clone myself, I suppose. But lucky we do a pre-recording, right? Right, Jack 61?
Yes, that's right.
Correct.
No, this
But
is really exciting, and it's good to branch out and to cooperate with other people. And
I think it is.
this is really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing the mega YouTube channels that have got several 100,000 subscribers. They get experts. They'll get an expert.
Well, you're an expert.
They'll get Yeah, I know, but the thing is, they don't have a resident DNA expert, if you know what I mean. They get that they
Yeah.
go and ask, oh, can you explain the DNA? Can you explain body language? They go out and they get specific experts, and I think it's great. That's why I love being on the foul play team. We've got so many passionate people who've got interest and passion in certain aspects of the case. Because I certainly don't know the entire case. It's too big. It's massive. So yeah, it should be good fun. Sorry, Neverly, continue.
Oh, no, that's all. No, I'm really excited about this because, as you know, we all feel that we are very lucky to have to have our own DNA specialist on the panel, and you're the founding father of foul play that started basically with 4 or 5 people, and look at us now. You know?
We had 0 subscribers. We had 0 subscribers,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm
So
honored.
that's awesome.
You guys are foul play, right?
Yeah.
You guys are.
It
foul
definitely
play.
takes a village for a case of this magnitude, but it's almost not as big as the murder case, which I may or may not be addicted to. So yeah, it's really cool.
All right. Well, look, guys, again, I'd like to thank my esteemed panel members, everyone in chat. Thank you so much for your support. If you like what we do, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and share our channel, the hard work that Jack61 does and everyone else does on their own particular podcasts that they're doing. Fantastic work. We only do a little bit here with our reading with the crew, and so fingers crossed, Neverly and I will have to come up with a new chapter. Hopefully we'll be able to put one together. But I think Neverly's got a potentially exciting project about 911 calls. Is that right, Neverly?
Yes, I do. Well, it's a survey that FBI did, and they try to see any common denominators with guilty people calling 911 when they actually did the crime versus the innocent ones, and what they have concluded, and they made a little algorithm. So I thought that would be really pertinent to go over and to listen to some of the 911 calls and see if we can conclude if that person is guilty, allegedly, speculation only, right? So I thought that would be really fun to do.
I think that'll be awesome. Be awesome. Thank you so much, guys, and thank you everyone in chat. We hope to see you all for the deposition reading with the open mic, and fingers crossed we'll be able to put something together for the next installment of Reading with the Crew. Again, guys, thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care, guys.
And this has been a Foul Play production.